All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be looking at our final topic for World War II, and that's going to be the Manhattan Project. Now, today should be a nice short video because we're not going to look at most of the significant details of the Manhattan Project because it's very technical and takes a lot of knowledge of physics and chemistry and things like that. But we can at least look at the project from a historical point of view because this is probably one of the most, if not the most significant events of human history because it is going to create the strongest weapons that exist today. So this will probably be one of the most significant historical moments for quite some time. So as we go through the video, we're going to talk about these guiding questions. What is the Manhattan Project? How did it get started and who promoted the project? How did the US keep the project a secret? And what were the final two products of the project? So before we could really talk about the project itself, we need to talk about the event that really kicks off the idea of creating an atom bomb, and that is the discovery of nuclear fission. So this is a physical phenomenon that is discovered by German scientists in 1938. And to put this into perspective, this is about when Hitler's starting to invade other countries like Poland. And so these German scientists discovered that if you fire a neutron at a uranium atom, you can split it, producing energy. And while that itself is not very significant, an idea comes out that, hey, if you pack tightly a bunch of uranium, you can create what is known as a chain reaction. So essentially, you shoot one neutron at one uranium nucleus, it splits apart, releases energy, and at the same time releases more neutrons. Those neutrons hit other nuclei, which cause the same reaction to occur, and starts to spread and spread and spread very rapidly. And so while the energy released from one atom splitting may not be very significant, you pack tens, hundreds, millions of these nuclei together and do the same thing, it will create a large explosion. And so because of that, the idea that this could theoretically be used as a weapon is created. And unfortunately, that puts the worry on a lot of people because, again, this is something discovered by German scientists. So there becomes a race to the atom bomb. Anti-Nazi scientists start to warn the US about German research on this project and research into developing atomic weapons. And there's a lot of worry because Germans are developing the first ICBM, an acronym that we're going to get very used to over the next couple of units during the Cold War, which stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. At the time, it is known as the V2 rocket. That's this right here. The significance of an ICBM, or Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, is that it's a missile you can fire from one location on Earth and have it remote control fly to another place and hit it from there. And so you can understand the significance of this because if you wanted to bomb something at this time, you would actually have to fly a physical plane over the location and drop a bomb there. But with something like this, you can fire it safely from your own country and have it land in your enemy's country. So combine this with the potential of a nuclear warhead, and you get something that is incredibly devastating. And so a letter is going to be signed by Einstein and a Hungarian scientist named Szilard, if I can pronounce that correctly, in 1939, that is going to be addressed to Roosevelt and ask him to create an atomic program of the US's own to beat the Germans. FDR heeds their warning and creates an atomic program in 1941 that actually is happening before Pearl Harbor. So again, this kind of goes hand in hand with some of these kind of build-ups to World War II that we talked about, in which FDR has created the draft and he's signed the Atlantic Charter with the British and all these other things that are kind of prepping the US to war before it actually gets started. Now, the Manhattan Project itself, what is it? Well, it's a secret project to develop the atomic weapons, and it's headed by J. Robert Oppenheimer, a very significant name in the scientific community for this project. He's selected to head it, and it is an incredibly secretive program. It is so secretive that in America, it is thought to say that about 12 people in the country know exactly what is happening in the project. So few people that this list does not even include the vice president of the country, Harry Truman. He finds out about it when FDR dies in 1945. And so it is so secretive that only a dozen people know about the project, and there's only maybe 1,000 people in the whole country who have a general idea of what's going on based on what they kind of see throughout the project. Other than that, the tens to hundreds of thousands of people working on the project in all of these different locations across the United States are essentially just blind workers. They come into work, they do this little part of the task, this little piece of the bomb, and that's it. They have no idea that each piece is going to a whole collective to create the world's most devastating weapon. And so the project is going to be split up across the country to help keep it in secret, because again, if you are just building a little piece here and someone spies on it, they don't necessarily know what's going on in the entire country. Information has to come from all of these locations to put it all together. And so it works out pretty well in keeping the project secret until the end of the war, when it starts to get leaked of what's happening. And so finally, we come to the existence of atomic weaponry. On July 16th, 1945, we have the Trinity test. And this is going to be the first ever atomic bomb detonation in the history of mankind. It occurs in New Mexico, and the explosion, as seen here, is going to be so just, what's the right word? Shocking to those who see it, that they are completely stunned. One of the most famous quotes from the event comes from Oppenheimer himself, in which he quotes this piece of Hindu scripture that reads, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." And he says that this idea pops into his head because seeing the absolute destructive power of the bomb kind of reminds him of becoming death itself. He has just created something that can absolutely destroy the earth in large quantities. And so with the finale of the program, they finish 2 final bombs. Those are going to be known as Fat Man, and as soon as this goes away, we also have Little Boy right down there at the bottom. These 2 bombs are going to be the 2 that are going to be we're going to talk about tomorrow, being used against the Japanese. And the reason why there's 2 different projects, 2 different results, is they're going to actually have 2 different mechanical actions to create the atomic bomb, and the U.S. is going to test out to see which one is more effective. And so with that, we're going to leave the discussion of actually using the bombs for tomorrow in class. So let's go ahead and finish off today's lesson. Again, should be a nice short one. What is the Manhattan Project? How did it get started, and who promoted the project? How did the U.S. keep the project secret? And what were the 2 final products of the project? All right, so with that being said, we're all done for today. Tomorrow we're going to go into a little bit more detail about using the bomb on Japan, with a little discussion and a little bit debate. I hope that you will all participate in. And with that being said, you're all done. If you have any final questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and leave it in this box here. Otherwise, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Bye.